Hey everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Adobo and Avocados. My name is Marie Cruz, and today we have an amazing guest with us. But before that, as always, I would like to introduce my amazing sidekick.
Hi, I'm the amazing sidekick. I'm Nicole van der Hoeven, and I'm happy to be here. We've missed a few weeks for various reasons, but we're happy to be back and to welcome Linda van der Vooren, with whom we
Hi.
actually met at Agile Testing Days.
We
Yeah,
did.
it was such an amazing talk that you did there, Linda. So, um, I think it fits nicely as well to the topic that we're going to be discussing today. So it's really great that you're able to lend us your time because I know you're busy with work. You just move house, busy with
Yes,
like speaking engagements as well. So we really appreciate you being here with us.
it's
Um,
my pleasure.
no, thank you. But before that, Nicole, do you want to tell them why we weren't able to do the episodes like previous weeks? You're really busy.
Why? Yeah, why have we been? I was at GrafanaCon. Was it
Yeah,
just last week? Yeah, it
it
was just last
was.
week.
Yeah.
I was at GrafanaCon in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and that was really amazing. Got to meet a lot of cool people who already know about Grafana, so I didn't have to do any educating on that front. Just got to talk to a lot of people who have very sophisticated use cases, which
Wow.
is not the norm. And I don't know what happened before that.
I was off because it was Easter break here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're back. And I guess before that, before we talk about the topic, Linda, so it would be great if you could introduce yourself. So who are you? What do you do? And what do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, so I'm Linda. I'm a software tester. I'm a test consultant, but I actually do many things. I currently work at Bartels since a little over 2 years now. Very happy here, and I'm also getting the opportunity to speak a lot, which is largely because of them. I am a quality coach, a test manager. I am a coach, a team coach, and I am also an activity that always brings me home. My adobo. I'm a saxophone player. I play the
Saxophone.
baritone saxophone specifically. I the I had one of those moments where the suitcase opened and then I fell in love. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and wherever I am, whoever I'm with, when I play the saxophone, I'm home.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
that's really good to hear. But you seem to be wearing a lot of different hats. You're a quality coach,
yeah,
test manager, team coach, software tester. Wow, you
yeah,
must be really busy with like
yeah.
actual
I
work.
need to start getting used to adding speaker to the list.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
Yeah, I really like being able to do a lot of different activities. I really feel that um, putting energy into several of those topics um,
mm,
improves the whole range of topics because they
mm,
are all connected.
nice.
Yeah,
Well, you sort of mentioned already that the saxophone is your adobo. But
yeah,
maybe like we can, because this live stream is called Adobo and Avocados, like very food inspired. So if we think about like food wise, so what reminds you of home? So for Nicole and myself, it's definitely adobo. So it's the unofficial national dish, and every time we hear about it, it constantly reminds us of home. So food wise, what reminds you of home?
there's this national dish in the Netherlands called stampot, which it does remind me of home, but I really don't like stampot at all. But
Ah,
if you, yeah, if I smell it or heaven forbid taste it, that does bring me back to my roots.
what what is it? Is it what like veggie or meat or?
It's usually potatoes mashed
Mm,
with overcooked green vegetables like kale and yeah, all sorts of. It's the cabbages, and I'm
Mm,
not into cabbages.
no. It does look well. I don't think I've tried that, Nicole, when we went to Amsterdam. But yeah, maybe.
No, I don't think you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what I really do like is the Dutch pancakes. They are
Yes,
the best.
I love
Yeah,
pancakes.
specifically the Dutch pancakes. Yeah,
Yeah.
we somehow do them a little bit differently than the rest of the world, but yeah,
Oh,
they are
it's all
amazing.
making me hungry. Anyway, back to non-food topic. So, tell us about your career background. So, how did you end up wearing these different hats? Like, how did you end up in tech in the first place?
Yeah, I actually got into tech through my saxophone. So
Mm,
when you are an amateur saxophone player, I was playing in an orchestra, a local one, and we had our own building. It was in a cellar. It was a bit dingy, but it was yeah, very homely. And we had this little bar area, and to to make our bookkeeping a bit easier, we rented out the space to other orchestras on different nights that we weren't playing, and we had to do bar shifts. And on one of the nights, I was doing a bar shift with Joris Meerts, who was a tester back then. And Joris told me what he did, and I thought, wow, that sounds really interesting, because at the time I was working with SAP as a user, and I was running into a multitude of problems trying to do my daily work. And I was working around all those troubles as effectively as I could to be able to get through the day and get through everything that I needed to do. And he listened to that and he said, wow, if you're finding all these problems, you should become a tester like me. And I thought, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. But I did not finish my I don't have an education, I don't have a degree. And usually they do require one. So he put in a very good word for me. I'm not sure what he said, but he put in a very good word for me. And they agreed to interview me. And then I got through the first round. Then they did this whole uh, skills test, and I got out very good. And then they said, well, you can start our traineeship. And in the period of 6 weeks, we'll have several tests. And if you fail any of the tests, you're out. But I didn't fail any of the tests. So I got in, and then I got to my first assignment. And from there, it's actually been a very, yeah, a very interesting journey.
wow. Yeah, it's really inspiring because, like, this shows that, yeah, like, even though you didn't complete your degree or didn't, finish formal education, you can still have, a career in tech or in any other, like, industries as well, as long as you just, work hard, like, push hard, and it sort of breaks that misconception that whenever we read, oh, these are the requirements, you need like a degree in computer science or 5 years experience or something, even though the tool itself has only been introduced like last year. I've seen a lot of like job adverts where it's very inaccurate. So this is proof that, yeah, you just need to find the right connections, as well. I think that's quite key. But yeah, it's really like, proof that even though you don't have that qualification, you can still have a really great career.
Yeah, it does. It does require a lot of, well, extra work
Mm,
in, yeah, in the spirit of mindsets, because I've always been told that without that degree, you will not amount to anything and you will just be at a typist job.
yeah.
Um, so it did require a lot of extra work that I don't think should be necessary, because that extra work was just to convince myself to do the thing.
Yeah.
And
And I
sometimes
really
fail, still keep going. Sorry.
sorry. No, I just wanted to say I can empathize with you because I did not know what testing was, and so I didn't even really know what being in tech was. I thought that meant development. And I also thought that development meant only like being alone with a computer all day. So I really had a very narrow understanding of this world. And so I also came to tech in a non-traditional way. And I don't know about you, but I definitely feel that although I'm happy I still got there and I think I've done pretty well, there was a huge amount, still is a huge amount of imposter syndrome in that, because you didn't go through the normal steps to get to a thing. Like most people prepare for years to enter a certain industry. And when you don't do that, and when you've gone a completely different direction, it just feels sort of like, do I have the right to be here? How can I possibly be so bold, so, so proud as to say that I can do this?
Yeah, who do I think I am to know better
Mm,
than all
Yeah.
these people with several degrees?
yeah.
Yeah,
I think that leads us nicely to the first topic, which is, yeah, imposter syndrome. So, Linda, when we first met you, this was in ATD last year, and you were making us teary eyed, if I can remember, because of the story that you shared. But the whole topic revolves around imposter syndrome. So tell us, like, yeah, about your personal story. Like, when did it start to hit? Was it during those first few weeks in your career? But yeah, let's talk about the
yeah,
feeling of being an imposter.
yeah. I've always felt like I didn't belong, especially in school, because I don't seem to learn the same way other people do, and I don't seem to be able to just listen to lessons and then get that stuff into my brain.
Mm,
Um, and that's always been a struggle. And I've always been told that I was dumb and I should maybe look for a job as a hairdresser. Not that they are stupid, but they said do something with your hands. Don't count on your brain to pick up. So I always believed that, and I got through middle school, and I think high school is the respective school to the middelbare school. Nicole, do you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, klopt.
I got through that relatively easy, but I was very lazy. I just did the minimal required, and I got the 6, and that was good enough. And then I thought, yeah, I'll see where life takes me, because school, I don't see why I should work hard for this. I'm stupid.
mm,
But then when I turned 19, I got very sick. I actually nearly died. I got thrombosis in the veins in the arteries that give blood to your brain, and it was touch and go for one night. Um, yeah, so that's, I'm trying not to cry like I did on ATD.
It's okay
Um,
if you do.
yeah,
mm.
it's
But if you do, just know that I'll probably cry with you. So let me just put that out there.
No, yeah, I'm because of my pregnancy hormones, I'm really emotional. So if the two of you cry, no.
I
Okay.
yeah, so I got sick. I was at home for weeks with severe headaches, and people told me, "Oh, you have a sinus infection," because the headache was centered here. And then I got medicine for that and antibiotics, and nothing worked. And then they said, "Oh no, it's probably migraine." Got more painkillers, but nothing worked. And at some point, um, I was trying to eat, and I couldn't hold my knife, and that's when I started worrying. Like, okay, my right
Mm,
hand is not performing the way I'm used to it performing. What's happening? Maybe it's asleep. And then my what actually was happening at the time is my brain was getting severely dehydrated, and uh, it was under stress from the blood that was pooling because it wasn't able to exit through the blockages. So my brain was under pressure, and that meant that my brain was actually signaling my body to stop doing things.
yeah.
Um, at some point, I also wasn't able to drink or eat anything because I would feel hungry or thirsty, eat something, and then 20 minutes later, on the second, I would lose it. My brain was messing all that up, and we went to our GP, and she said, yeah, I'm really worried about this. You need to go to the hospital today. So she phoned the hospital. We could go today. And then the neurologist wasn't sure and sent me back home, said, let's see you next week. But that afternoon, she had a change of mind and said, no, please come in today. We're going to do an MRI. And when I went into the MRI, at that point, I'd had a minute or five where I'd lost speech. I was speaking sounds, but I could hear they were not words. And I was trying to say words, but I could not form words. So I thought, okay, something's wrong in my brain. And then we went into the MRI, and when I distinctly remember I went in and there was one neurologist looking at the screens in the little room next to it. And when I came out 40 minutes later, all of the neurologists were there. And that's when they found all the blockages. And they sent me to another hospital, the one in Utrecht, who was much better prepared. If anything would go wrong, they could possibly try to save me. But there were so many blockages that saving me would have been impossible. Later that night, the neurologist from that hospital came to me and said, we were in the hallway outside, and she said, well, your family's in your room. We're going to wheel you in, and please tell them what you need to tell them, because we're not sure if you're here tomorrow. That moment, oh, there I go. That moment changed my life. That moment, I could feel everything in me decide, this is not it. I don't want to die. And up to that point, I didn't really care about my life. I hadn't really lived my life, and I hadn't really tried to make anything out of it. And that moment changed everything. And that moment is where I thought, if I'm going to get through this, I'm going to do the thing that scares me, and I'm going to try, and I'm going to not be afraid. Yeah. And I survived. It was a tough night, as they predicted. They put me in medium care, where you're in between the brain tumors that did not make it through the night. But I got through, and there was a very long rehabilitation period afterwards. But the only thing currently that I have left from that is my glasses, because when your brain is under pressure, they also push against your eyeballs, and my optic nerve is still gradually relaxing. I went from -2.5 to -1/4, but the glasses are still more comfortable than without. So getting better from something like that, I had some mental issues, because every time something happened to me, I was afraid. Oh, I have a little headache. Oh, it starts again. Even though they found the root cause, it was the hormone pill that caused this for me. Even though they found the root cause and we took that away, I was very afraid for a long time. So they sent me to a psychologist to work through the trauma, because it really is a trauma that you go through. And in all those talks, she identified, like, you don't really think well of yourself, but the way I see you and the way you speak to me, you are an intelligent person. And I told her, no, you have that wrong. I am not an intelligent person. Help me. And then nearing the end of our sessions, she said, let's do an IQ test. And that's when I found out I actually have a very high IQ, instead of being very stupid, which does fill in all the gaps where I think and learn different than other people, and I look at the world differently. But yeah, that those two combined, now having a life and being able to do the thing and grab life by the balls, yeah, and knowing that I'm not stupid, I just work differently.
Yeah.
That got me to identify my imposter syndrome. That didn't get me through it yet, but that's how I found out, like, I've been living a different life than I thought.
Well,
Yeah.
I think first of all, Linda, thank you so much for sharing that. Um it's a scary feeling, and like I'm trying not to be teary-eyed, but it's one of those experiences where, yeah, no no one has to go through that. And just really thank you for being honest and sharing that with us today. And it's inspiring as well, in a way, because we see you now, and the experiences really do shape us. um and it's also proof that, school is not for everyone. Like the stuff that, people have said to you in the past, um it really shouldn't shape us the way we are, but it does. I've been told, I've got things that have been stuck with me as well, from, childhood, from when I was young. And I find it hard, for example, to take compliments. So it really boils down to how people, have perceive us, or have even like judge us, even though it's not really, I guess, the exact truth. And it's dangerous when we believe that. So yeah, I think we're we're all imposters, in a way. Like we feel that, definitely. um but you said as well that um you're still working on overcoming being an imposter. And what might be helpful, for us, for everyone who watched the show, is what guidelines, or what sort of changes did you have to make, in order to keep that imposter syndrome, I guess, at bay. Yeah.
Yeah, I've um, made friends with my internal criticaster. So my internal criticaster is always telling me everything that I cannot do and everything that I did wrong. And my internal criticaster sees everything. No one sees everything, but my internal criticaster does. I also gave him a metaphor, because that metaphor really that helps me to humanize the criticaster, and to also say, okay, I've heard you and I'm not going to listen to you today. So mine's a bit severe. I'll tell you which one it is, but it's a bit severe because my internal criticaster is very nasty. And it's a fictional character that represents the nastiness for me. This character is very clever. My criticaster is as clever as I am, which is why I'm probably not going to win, because we're equals. Um, and he says the most mean, atrocious, and nasty things, but with a slight smile on his face while he's doing something unmentionable. Um, yeah, my internal criticaster is Hannibal Lecter. Having given him that name, it's a him, I don't know why it's a him, but having given him that name helps me identify, ha, I hear you. Thank you for sharing. I'm not going to listen to you today. And on days when I'm feeling good, like today, that's quite easy. But on days when I'm not feeling good, in the middle of moving house a few weeks ago, it's more difficult to say, no, thank you. I'm going to do my own thing. But at least being aware of what your internal criticaster is saying to you, and being able to distinguish your own feelings and thoughts from the fear um, that's behind that criticaster, that really that helps a lot. That's, yeah, the main thing for me. There's a lot of things, but this is a main one for me.
Yeah. I think so, because like on a previous episode, we had Sophie Kuster as well, who talked about imposter syndrome. And if I'm not mistaken, I think she also shared that, yeah, identify that sort of inner monster, and rather than being defeated by that,
Yeah,
because it's just your thoughts, basically, and
yeah,
your thoughts, they don't define who you are. So
correct.
it's really good that when that inner critic or that monster starts to manifest, then you're able to say, yeah, okay, but I'm not gonna listen to you.
Yeah,
And that takes a lot of um willpower, if I may say, because sometimes the words that you hear internally, it's really constant. I think we all, really have that. Um, so definitely, I agree with that um, suggestion of identifying it, and maybe, yeah, giving it a name. It could be like a monster, or it could be like any other like fictional character. But
yeah,
I think first thing is really identifying that and start to really, yeah, just say, okay, you've said that. I'm gonna move on from
yeah,
what this inner critic has said.
yeah. And I literally went for a monster, and that
Mm-hmm.
helped me. Especially with things like this, being nuanced in distinguishing the voices, doesn't help for me. That makes it worse, because then I start discussing with this internal voice, and that's not where you want to be.
There's this video that YouTube has been showing me recently. It's about a song. It's a song by someone named Livingston. And in the song he talks about a monster and how it's chasing him or chasing you. And then in the chorus he says, it's not the devil at your door, it's just your shadow on the floor. And the truth is that these voices are really parts of us, and they're expressing unmet needs that we maybe haven't really paid attention to. So
For
I
sure.
think sometimes it can be useful to characterize these thoughts as monsters, because that's what they are. It's better that than to think this is reality, that we actually are those things that they say. But it can also be useful to think of it as, just being something coming from us too, that they're not external, that we can control it, that we can listen without changing anything about how we're behaving, that we can respond with curiosity and just be like, oh, why are you saying that? Oh, I guess it's because I feel this way, or I need this and I'm not getting that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly that.
we've explored the imposter syndrome side of things, and I wonder if there's any like correlation with having a, I guess, a different mindset. So our main sort of topic is really, exploring mindsets. Like we've talked about mindsets a lot on like previous episodes, but the main two are growth mindset and fixed mindset. So I wonder if there's any like link to being an imposter and also having a specific kind of mindset.
There definitely is. The inquisitiveness that you would want to exhibit when listening to your inner voices, that's you can connect that to a growth mindset. A fixed mindset would take it for truth and not be curious about what's behind it, or curious about, hey, where is this coming from, or why am I thinking this. A growth mindset helps you look beyond that, and a growth mindset um, helps you distinguish between the good thoughts and the bad thoughts. A fixed mindset will grab the bad thoughts and stay there.
Yeah. I guess apart from identifying like which ones are the good thoughts, which ones are the bad thoughts, and then being like curious like about the whole situation, what are other characteristics that people with a growth mindset might have that maybe you would like to share with us?
Yeah, there's one really easy one that I always like to explain to people when I'm coaching. People reveal a lot about what's going on in their inner world in their speech. Words mean so much. People that are always in their head usually say, I think a lot. And people that are more cognitive in their way of thinking usually say look and then say something. So I always listen to language a lot, and what always reveals to me if someone's in a fixed mindset or a growth mindset is if they say yes but fixed or yes and growth. uh, those little words reveal a lot to me about where someone is, because if someone is in the but, yes but this is that, everything after the but is considered untrue or reasons why, but not the core reason why you should want to say that. Is smooshes, um, excuses. Yes and usually reveals I want to cooperate with you and I have a thought that helps.
Yeah. I think definitely because it's one of those words that I think all of us have, have said yes, but
Yeah,
and it's sort of, it makes you, it really makes you, I guess, like more cautious of the things that you say, because it it will have, I guess, an impact to whatever, where the conversation is headed, if again choosing the wrong words. So it's good that you brought that you brought that up. It's just like a simple conjunction, but like it could mean a lot of things, and
yeah.
that could either make or break the conversation.
Yeah, I sometimes literally say something to someone that I know they will not agree with, just to say if they're going to go with but or and, or if they're just not going to leave but out completely and give me an answer why they think it's not that. And that seems a bit manipulative, but sometimes it's really helpful to um, do the extra check to see where someone is, because if someone is stuck in that fixed mindset, there's not much point discussing with them. Then you'd better, well, if you have the tools and the knowledge how to, you can try to get them out of that mindset, or maybe you can leave the discussion to a moment when where they are not in that fixed mindset, because
It's
people that
also
are fixed usually are not very um, easy to, yeah, to talk to.
it's also a good indicator, I think, that someone is feeling defensive because when they say yes, but they're immediately focusing on the limits, it's like they're putting up a wall. And really, I think when I say yes, but I try and think, well, should I be saying no here instead? And am I just afraid to say no? And that's, sometimes you have to say no. Sometimes that's healthy. That's
Yeah,
about putting up boundaries. In fact, I think no, but is like, it can be a very healthy thing to say because you're disagreeing, but you're also trying to find something that you can give or a compromise. But when I say yes, but sometimes that can mean like I really don't want to listen to what you're saying because what I'm actually feeling is attacked, or actually feel that you're pushing me a little further than I want to go because it's coming from a fear that I'm not going to be good enough, or I'm not going to be able to do what you want to your expectations. And that's useful to know because if you know that about someone, then maybe your approach could be tweaked. Maybe you're coming on a little too strong and you're saying, I want this and this, and then they're going to be like, yes, but this something else won't work because whatever. And maybe what you need to do is say, hey, you're doing a really good job and I really liked when you do this. I wonder if maybe the next step could be this. Like then it's maybe you're going, like they say n plus one is the zone of growth where n is what you already know and plus one is just like a little step. Maybe that's an
yeah,
indication that someone is asking for an n plus 10. from the point of view of the person receiving it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I've listed like other characteristics as well that we can also talk about. So we'll start with a fixed mindset. So tell me if you both agree. But first one is someone with a fixed mindset. They avoid challenges. They like to stick in their comfort zone, one that they are particularly good at. So they play more with their strengths rather than, I guess, admitting and showing to people that they have weaknesses, and then working on improving that weakness. There's also that fear of criticism, and rather than embracing any negative feedback, they become more defensive, and it's really hard for them to take that criticism, and they take that personally, as an attack, instead. Thoughts on that, or any sort of ideas, if that really encompass someone with a fixed mindset, or are there any other characteristics that, yeah, we can also talk about?
Um, yeah, I think that summarizes it nicely. But sometimes it can be all of those things, and it could also be I don't have the mental space to do the plus one with you today. That could also be it. Like during moving house, I was definitely in a fixed mindset because I was at maximum capacity, emotionally, physically, not there. But yeah, especially in a professional environment, if you encounter someone with a fixed mindset, you're going to have all these challenges of them holding on to, um, yeah, all the points you just listed, and they feel right in doing that because they think that's their job. They
Mm-hmm.
should stay put and protect their work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this brings up something that I always think about when people talk about fixed and growth mindsets. I agree with it in principle, and definitely when we talk about them in comparison to each other, it seems pretty clear that a growth mindset is the one that is generally preferable. I do think that there are some things that are a bit problematic, and I wonder if that's like what you just said, Linda. I wonder if that's because there's a third one that's missing. Because I think it is possible to be neither focused on your limits while still not being focused on continual growth. Because, like you said, there are times when you just don't have enough spoons for something, and
Yeah.
that shouldn't be a negative thing. That's just you expressing your boundaries. That's you knowing yourself and being intentional about what you take on. And I feel like to say that that is a fixed mindset is kind of making it sound more, making it sound like a bad thing, like a negative thing. I don't know what that third thing might be, but I also think that actually the growth mindset is not always a good thing because it makes people believe that in order to be worthwhile, you need to be constantly improving, constantly growing, constantly adding. And that's not always a healthy way to live either.
I
Yeah.
completely
Oh.
agree. I don't think it's as binary as that there are two. I think there are a lot of types of mindsets, and you can assign them to look like fixed or look like growth. But I think maybe mindsets are a bit like genders. You cannot really define them well, and there are a lot of them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I agree. It's not as binary as fixed or growth, and that's it. There's a lot of them, but to identify in which direction you are feeling, I like to assign how I'm feeling to am I feeling fixed or in growth? Um, yeah, because that helps me scale where I am. I use it as an identifier, not as a measuring. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's good that, we are bringing this up because if you don't have the mental capacity for it, like we all struggle with a lot of like different things, like you moving house, Linda, that was like, I'm also experiencing that. And there's a lot of other like factors as well that over time you just feel mentally exhausted. And I think at this stage, even though you really want to be in that growth mindset, it just sort of like holds you back because you don't have the batteries, you don't have the capacity to be in that mindset. And I think that's a an okay thing to say. Like we can't always be 100% like, growth like all the time. And I guess this sort of reaffirms that in our like day to day or in our like journey, sometimes we won't be always in that growth mindset. Sometimes we'll be fixed, sometimes we'll be this. And I think no one is really 100% in growth mindset. That's just my personal opinion. If you are, then like that's really really great,
If
like
you
really
are, then
awesome.
show your secrets.
Yeah. Yeah. Share it with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my opinion. I think we're sometimes growth, we're sometimes fixed, or we're just in between. So like what Nico said, what is that third, or like the in between the two.
Yeah, yeah, and the types of mindsets that you can think about, like not in fixed or growth, but in other topics, like something that it pops up on my Instagram a lot, money mindset. I was following
Mm.
a couple of people speaking about that, and then you get given more of it. And in that way, money mindset, if you have your money, that's a given. But if you look at your money as never enough or plenty, there's room for everything. That's a world of difference. And the way athletes look at mindset, um, or in the military or stoics, you can attack mindset from so many uh, so many sides.
Mm. But is there, so like we can also talk about this type of mindset. So I guess because of, where we are in our professions, like we've all like, we all work in tech. We're all doing we've done, or we are all doing software testing. How does our mindset influence our testing skills? I know you're gonna be doing a talk next month in Expo QA, and but without, I guess, without spoiling that particular talk, and then the one in ATD later this year, could you give
Yeah,
us like some sort of insights on how your mindset can influence, I guess not just testing skills, but yeah, any sort of like relevant skills?
yeah, for sure. What I'm actually going to be doing in Madrid and on ATD is a live experiment with the audience. I'm going to I'm going to do a little test with the audience. We'll divide them in two groups, and then I will influence the mindset of one of those two groups. And then we will do a little test again, and you'll see that um, there'll be a distinction in the outcome of the test, a very big one. And in the presentation afterwards, I will explain how I did that and why that happens. So if you are testing a piece of software, and if you think this already works, I'm not going to find anything. Chances are you're indeed not going to find anything, because you're not looking for defects. You're looking for quality, which is a great mindset. I really enjoy looking for quality, but you probably will get different results if you start looking at the software from a mindset of, wow, this really doesn't work. I don't understand why this code can run. Let's take a look at this. Um, Also, if you have been testing a certain module or function and you cannot for the life of you find any bugs, what I always teach trainees is, if you're not finding bugs, you're not testing the right way, because there always are bugs. and it can really discourage you a lot if you are not careful. So if you are not aware of your mindset being influenced by not getting the results that you thought you would get, you will get led by it and think, well, there's nothing wrong with this. This probably works, instead of switching to a different technique, tool, or getting help from someone. That might, lead to finding that one bug that you do not want to get in production.
Yeah, I think that summarize it really well, because if you're just focusing with a single testing technique and then not really moving on to other ones just because you couldn't find any issues, then you're missing, I guess, the whole picture of being creative with testing as well. And this is where techniques like exploratory testing, it really shines within that area, because it allows you to explore the system in a way that it's not constrained, but again, it's sort of like you have a charter to use, so you still have some sort of map or a guideline to use, but at least you're not limited to like following some instructions, having a set of you know scenarios that will already work, so it will let you explore other things that you haven't really agreed, or you haven't decided as a team that this should be a requirement. And I definitely agree that changing mindsets around that, instead of focusing on finding quality, let's go find defects, but in a different way, different techniques, make it fun as well. So it's a really good way of yeah of improving, I guess, your testing skills too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if, for example, if someone would ask, um how can I cultivate, so if someone is curious, I guess, and like how they can cultivate their growth mindset so they can influence their testing skills better, or just in general they just want to start having this growth mindset, are there any um ways or techniques that you've used, or is it sort of like it just comes within you that if you want to have this growth mindset, then you have to show this, or are there any guidelines, or sort of like, I don't know, tips, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah,
I have a few. Unfortunately, it does not come by just doing nothing. I have one
yeah,
that I always tell trainees that I really would like to share, and that's you always, when you are looking at software, you need to do two things, and you need to do those two things really well. One is you need to show that this works, that it's fit intended use, that it's actually going to get used and deliver value. Show that, prove it. And the second is you need to prove that it's broken. You need to prove that this will
mhm,
never work, that this is going to get big problems in production. You're going to get fines, image problems. You need to show that with proof. You need to do both of those really well, and if you can, then you are on your way to be a very good tester. So the other part of getting to a growth mindset, or yeah, trying to level up on that, is by getting good feedback. And getting good feedback is, for a lot of people, receiving feedback is difficult because it's not fun to learn what you did not do well. And also, as you said, Marie, you shared that you have some challenges with accepting compliments. That's also receiving feedback, but the positive side of it. What you should do is get the right feedback from the right people. And I'll give an example why why I'm saying the right people. In my job, I always try to find colleagues that are at my level or above that mean well. They will give me feedback that's useful for me and that helps me grow my career. On the other hand, a few years ago, I had a coaching practice and I was unsure if I would give that up and start work full time for an employer again, or if I was going to maintain it. And I thought, yeah, I searched for feedback amongst my friends and family. And your friends and family, they hopefully love you and they mean well. They want you to do well. And your friends and family see you do well. They saw me do well with my previous employer and that coaching practice next to it. And because they don't want you to experience bad things like a company going wrong or a new job not working out, they're usually going to give you the advice, you know what you have, stay there. You know the people, you know the work, it's all nicely divided, you're doing okay. Just keep doing that. Look on how you can grow in there. But the scary advice that I needed was take the big scary step. Um, I gave up my coaching practice to focus full time on my new employer. And um, most of my friends that I asked for advice and family, they said, are you sure? Should you do that? But in the end, it was the best thing I could do. So the advice that I took was from an old colleague that I don't work with anymore. Sadness. I really like working with him. And he said, well, that new employer of yours, that sounds like that's a really good fit. Do it. And if it doesn't work out, the world doesn't end there. So that's where I was able to step out of the, oh my God, I know what I have now, which I can assign to a fixed mindset, and look beyond that, what there could be, and take the step. And well, one of the things that has given it, that was given to me was me being here and being a speaker and meeting you at ATD last year. So yeah, be careful who you ask feedback from. And
I
ask
also would
yeah,
I would
sorry.
also add that it's also useful to ask for feedback in the right way. There's a book called
Yeah,
The Mom Test, and the Mom Test starts with the premise that if you ask your mom something like, I made this thing, what do you think of it? The answer is probably going to be positive and also very useless. So don't ask questions that are so open-ended where it's clear what answer you want. So the mom test is, if you ask this question to your mom, would she give you actionable advice? And it doesn't really matter that it's a mom, it could be someone that just cares about you a lot, it could be a friend, but
yeah,
it is also about crafting a very specific question, a very specific ask that will give you information that the other person won't feel is going to shatter your confidence or something like that. So don't ask for things that make them make a judgment on you. Just ask for something very specific, like, what do you think I could have added as a test case that I didn't think about? That doesn't say like, do you think I'm a bad tester, or what, did I miss something? Because then they'd say, well, no, ask, just assume that you have missed something and say, what could you have added? And that makes it seem also like not as negative a thing. If I got a question like that, I would feel more comfortable about actually answering.
yeah. That's a great addition. Thank you.
Yeah. I've shared the link as well, so if anyone would want to have a look. I think is it more focused? I think it's more focused on like sales out of customer conversation, but I think yeah, it can be used in terms of yeah, getting the right feedback as well. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's a
like
really
it's like about user research. So I thought that there was a lot there for testers in particular.
yeah. But I think what you've said, Linda, around getting feedback from the right people, because there's been countless, times where I've asked feedback from, family and friends, and you've nailed it. So they will say, "Oh, but you're already doing well. Like, why would you do that?" Or, "But you're already juggling a lot. Why?" So, I think, yeah, asking the right people is definitely a good advice. I think one thing that um, I find really useful. So is this concept of like the power of yet. So I watched Carol Dweck's TED Talk before, where she explained what this is about, and it's basically like, okay, I haven't learned this yet, or it's a new thing, so it's a new skill that I don't have yet. So you always add the word yet, and this is exactly true with the experience that Nicole and I um are having right now. So we're switching from to a more observability like focus advocacy. So we've always been in the testing space for like quite a lot of years now, and suddenly advocating for something new, it feels scary, but and it feels scary, and it's a new territory, for us. But what I found useful is, yeah, thinking of that word yet. So I don't know what these topics are yet, but then I'm gonna learn about it, and I can only compare what my improvements are. Let's say if this was me 2 months ago. Like 2 months ago, I don't know any of this different topics, like the different visualization types, and now I can produce videos about it. So I think instilling that mindset of adding the word yet, it's such a simple word, but that can help already with cultivating that growth mindset.
This
I
is
love
also
that.
why I'm so passionate about learning in public, because so much of this is providing a psychologically safe space for people to actually say that yet and
Mm-hmm.
not feel like, oh, if I admit that, that's still such a big deal. If we expose the process of learning and are open about the fact that even we are not don't feel like we're already fully there, then other people will also do the same and be like, oh, yeah, actually, I don't know that yet either. And it leads to the opportunity of having some conversations that maybe you wouldn't have had if everyone just said, I know this, I know that. Saying, I don't know this yet, and here's what I'm trying to learn. Then people are like, oh, thank God you said that, because I'm also trying to learn this. But that thing that you're learning, I actually can help you with that. Maybe you could help me. And so I think a lot of it is just putting stuff out there. And it's not really just about you, it's also making that whole space, the team or the company, that culture a little bit more forgiving of that yet.
Yeah. So we are almost done with this episode, and I would love to feature Linda's engagements for this year. Um
Yay!
so first, yeah, you've got Expo QA. And this is about mindsets as well. So uh, it's really great that, yeah, so I'm sure the experiment will will go as you plan. But yeah, this is a really great session for everyone who wants to learn about mindset. Is this your first time in Expo QA, or have you spoken there before?
First time there. Yeah,
Awesome. Oh,
very
well, good
exciting.
luck. Yeah. So when is this, and where would you like to, yeah, share?
Yeah, it's last week of May on the Wednesday. I'm on at 11:05 in the morning in room 2.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't yet have tickets to Expo QA, they are for sale now.
Nice. Yeah. So, yeah. If anyone would like, or if is it in Madrid or where in
Madrid. Yeah.
Madrid? Okay. So if anyone based in Madrid or nearby, and they want to attend Expo QA, we've added the link here. But apart from that, you're also gonna be speaking at Eurostar.
Yes.
Awesome. So tell us about, yeah, this talk. I think is this the same as the one from ATD
It's
last
the
year?
extended version from the one at
Ooh.
ATD. Yes. So at ATD, I had about 20 minutes, and here I have 45.
Oh
So here
wow.
I'm able to elaborate much more on the second
Yeah.
part of the presentation, and that is how I battled my imposter syndrome. I
Oh
give
my god.
11 tips
Yeah.
um, yeah, about how you can deal with your imposter syndrome or signal it, and yeah.
Oh, well, as someone who watched the shorter version, to anyone attending Eurostar, I highly recommend attending this session. So Eurostar is gonna be in Stockholm, 11th to 14th of June. So if you're already attending Eurostar, bookmark this this track talk. It's really good. And then finally, um agile testing days. Not one, but two.
Two talks.
So,
Yay!
yeah. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so the have you lost your mindset? That's the it will be the second time that I'm going to present it, but the test will be different. So if you go to Expo QA, you will not necessarily be done for ATD.
Yeah.
And the other one, a comedy of errors, is going to be a stand-up comedy type of talk, and I'm going to outline why I, with every fiber of my being, hate automation because I can never get it to work. But also why I think you should advocate for test automation and free the way for the people that don't get anger management issues when they're handling with test automation.
Oh, I'm bummed that I'm gonna miss ATD this year. I really want to watch this talk, but maybe I can purchase like the online version so I can watch this. Or hopefully the following year you can also extend this talk. Maybe I can get the extended version.
Yeah,
But Nicole, you're also speaking at ATD, right?
I am. I actually have a co-speaker because I like to do these joint talks, and kind of along the same lines that we've talked about in this last hour, we're talking about how to embrace your curiosity and be playful rather than saying I can't do that.
Hmm.
My friend Steve Upton and I are talking about flirting with risk and why following a sequential series of steps isn't always the best way to test a system. And there's already actually a framework for it. When we're talking about humans, we call it flirtation. And it's about
Mm.
being more responsive and curious and using that to make our testing better.
Amazing. Well, definitely to anyone attending ATD this year, make sure you attend both Nicole and Linda's talk. Amazing. So I guess just to finish this really amazing episode, Linda. What we have a question that we always love to ask our guests, and that is if you have one piece of advice that you would like to give to anyone who wants to have a career in tech, what would that be?
just do it. Yeah, yeah, just do it. You can. Just
You
do it.
can. Yeah. Stop
You
listening
can.
to that inner critic.
Yeah, yeah.
Shoo
Short
them away.
advice. 3 words. Just do it.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Linda. I hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as we did.
I did so
And
much.
thank you for sharing all your personal stories, the insights, and good luck with your speaking engagements this year. I hope next year as well, there's many more to come. But yeah, for now, we are done with today's episode. We'll be back definitely. We've got a confirmed guest for next week, so we'll definitely be back. But yeah, for now, thank you for tuning in, and bye bye. Thank you
Thanks,
all.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.